Hello and welcome to this week's Damp Show with me, Dampsam. So the number one question today is which pays better, plastering or bricklaying? Um, it's a difficult one that because it all depends on whether you're on day work or whether you're on price work. At the minute, there's a massive shortage of bricklayers, so their price is very high, and they're getting quite a substantial amount for laying bricks as well. And then it depends on which part of the country you're in as well. So plasterers, I'm thinking round about 200 to about 380 a day, depending on where you are in country. And I've never known prices. I've never known prices per square meter, apart from back in '80s, and I don't think it changed much. I can remember it being something like, I think it was something like £2 a meter, £1 90 odd a meter, and it didn't really change over years. I don't know what it is now. I think that's for skimming, just for skimming on its own. But nowadays you just don't bother with price work unless you work it out in your head, and it's going to be quite lucrative. If two plasterers are working together and you're splitting price for job between you, you're better off not working together with two plasterers. You're better off with one plasterer, one labourer, because you pay your labourer less, and two can get done more than one, and your labourer can travel up and things like that. So that'd be my advice. Don't get another plasterer unless you're gonna step back and do your pricing and let them do work. But I'd say at this moment in time, I think bricklayers are edging it. Bricklayers are getting a bit more than plasterers, but there will be some plasterers who. It all depends on whether you're on a site as well or whether you're doing private work. If you're doing private work, you can probably get a bit more. So it is. I ain't really answered that question because it's a bit. It's how long's a how long's a ball of string? How long's the length of string? It's as long as it is from halfway from one end to middle, doubled, something like that. So the number two, how long until you can paint on wet plaster? You don't paint on wet plaster. That's like a no. It's a question's wrong. You don't paint on wet plaster. You wait until it's dry. I think that's what they're saying. I think what they're saying is how long is it before you can paint after a wall's been plastered? Again, depends on a couple of factors. If it's just skimming, it kind of depends on time of year, weather conditions, is the heating, is the ventilation in property. But when we do damp proofing, I'll say, and it's fast system that we put in. So we put in boards and then we skimp boards. I'll say give it about 4 to 5 days and it'll be dry, and you'll be able to paint on it. And always prime it first. So put a primer on first. Your primer can either be watered down paint, water it down something like 4 and 1, 3 and 1, and then put your 2 coats on top. Or you could use a ready-made, what's called size. So basically, it stops paint from sucking in, or I'm wanting to say sucking in. What is it? Absorbing in too fast, and then you're having to put coat after coat after coat on. So always use a size. So yeah, again, and if it's sand and cement that you've skimmed onto, it's going to take even longer for it to dry out. And if it's a browning, or if it's a backing coat that's a wet backing coat, it's going to take a lot longer. And these are calculations. I think they say it's foot thickness. It's so many mil and so many square meters for so many days, but it's a load of rubbish that, because it all depends on conditions inside your room. you've got a radiator on full blast, it's going to dry out really quickly. If it's as hot as what it was a couple of days ago, like 30 odd degrees, again, going to dry out really quickly. If it's windy, if there's no windows in and wind's blowing through, it'll dry out really quickly. But it'll also do something like called pattern staining, and you get like this like crazing effect. And I've had it a lot of times when we've been doing sites and windows haven't been in. So they've said, get them skimmed, just leave reveals off. You can skim walls. You just do a strip down half at reveal, and then you can do rest once windows are in. Because they're pretty impatient builders, that's what it is. So I hope I've answered that question for you. Number 5. How do you plaster a ceiling? Right, so for plastering a ceiling, this is what you do. So I'll take you through 2 types. So you can board a ceiling, and if you're skimming onto boardwork, this is how you do it. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. You board your ceiling, obviously. Use screws into joists, not nails, because you tend to get poppers with nails. Screws fix a lot better. You tape your joints with what's called scrim, or fibre tape, and these days it all tends to be self-adhesive scrim. So you just unroll it. It's like a bandage, and it's a strip, and you do all your joints. And if you've got boarded walls, you do right corner as well, and that stops your joints from cracking once it's been plastered, and stops it from cracking in corners once it's been plastered too. You then mix your stuff up. So you mix your finish up, and different plasterers like different thicknesses of finish. Everybody has different preferences. I have different preferences depending on how much I'm doing. So if I'm doing like a big area and I'm mixing a massive bucket up, I might mix it just a touch thinner, so that it's not getting really thick. If it's only a small area I'm doing, I like it a bit thicker because I know it's going to dry out a bit quicker. But now they've fetched a fast setting plaster out, so it's by Gypsum, British Gypsum, and rather than taking 180 minutes to set, I think it takes a lot less. So not normal set on a plaster. So once you've mixed it up, put it on ceiling, they say that it's like 3 hours, but it's normally around about 2.5 hours. Sometimes it hangs longer, sometimes it goes off quicker. So what you do is you get your this is how we do it. We don't use a spot board. We get it out at bucket. I used a spot board years ago. It takes up too much room in place where you're working. For me, you're forever cleaning it. Takes up too much room in van. So we just get it straight out at bucket with a keller, what's called a keller, which is like it's like a squarish trowel with a handle on it. Get it straight out onto your handboard. I have a massive handboard. It's a dry liners handboard by Marshalltown. People see it and they think it's heavy. It's not heavy. It's well balanced. It's really thin, and I imagine it's when I think plasterers look at my handboard and they think it's going to be really heavy, and I've put too much stuff on, and it's not. Trust me, it's not heavy. Get one. There's less mess, less stuff dripping on floor. That's why I have a big handboard. These little postage stamp things. What's the point in having them? You get like 2 trowelfuls on, and then you're having to fill it up again. You're forever bending down. So you put it on your handboard, and this is how I was taught at college. So you'll start in one corner. So you go over into that corner, and then you'll pull into the middle. And then down that side, you just put a bit on all the way down if there's any gaps. So you've got like a nice strip into the middle. and then you do a trowel width at the side of it, and then you pull again into the middle, and then you carry that on all the way to end of your room. So trowel width, trowel width, trowel width, trowel width, to same pull. So it's going to be roughly the same place every time. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to pull as far back as you can, and that makes you quicker. If you want, once you've got to end, if you wanted to just make that, do another strip so it's all exactly the same length all the way on, that's where I sometimes go. I think it's a bit of OCD, so I'll just pull it all back in, and then you can either go in that corner and pull in, or you've normally done that, so you've normally done that strip. And a good plasterer, if room's just a normal size, it's not like a massive one, you can normally reach around about halfway. So then if you go on to the other side, you pull in halfway, you've more or less got it. If it's a bigger room, what I tend to do is I go all the way around outside, and then you can fill middle in. Or you can, I did my extension on the my big kitchen extension ceiling. I did that in kind of different drags. So I pulled in as far as I could, flattened it off, put second coat on, troweled it up, and then went on to the next bit and did that. So I did it in like sections. So because it's a big top, a big kitchen ceiling, I split it into like 3 ordinary size ceilings. So I did one square, and when that was kind of nearly going off, and then I did other one, and then nipping back to that, just finish it off, then next and then next. And so you get like a system. You do it symmetrical, square. You get a system. Make sure everything's neat and tidy, and always clean your trowel. So that's what you do. So and then you put one coat on all the way around, and then you flatten off. I use a different trowel, so I use a hard steel trowel to put on with, which is what we call broken in. It means it's sharp. You've used it for years. And then I use a different trowel for flattening off, which is about 18 inch. Big one. And then you flatten off with that, and that's like a bit more softer metal, and it's still sharp. And then you mix another bucket up. If you're just gonna, as a rule of thumb, say if you mixed a full bucket up and that put a top on, if you wanted to just second coat that area, you'd probably use another half a bucket roundabout. You should be able to sort of second coat it with half a bucket. Some people do it in one coat, and it can be done. Listen, it can be done. This new fast setting plaster that they've fetched out, if you read instructions, they said to do it in one coat, and I've used it, and you can, and it's paintable. Do you know what I mean? So it serves a purpose. It's good for us if we've only got a small area to do. So then you put your second coat on, and then you just keep going over it. So you go over it once, flatten off, wait a bit, have a cup of tea, have your sandwich, and then you go over it again, flatten off. And what is happening is the finish, it sets by means of a thing called hydration. I think I've got that right. Hydration. It's a long time since I was at college, but I think it's hydration. And what that means is all moisture is, when it's made in its powder form, they do all the mixture out with the gypsum and the perlite and whatever they put in it. And this is in factory. They take all moisture out, and it goes into a sack. Then when you add water to it, it goes back to its what's the word I'm looking for? Sloppy form. That's it. Or it goes to some kind of form anyway. But when you start, as soon as it's mixed, it starts to set, and it starts to become warm. So if you ever feel at a lump of plaster that's been left, that say there's a bit left over, put your hand on it, it'll be really hot, and that heat makes the water that you've just mixed it with evaporate, and then then it starts to go back to its solid form, and that's what you do. So you're going over it, you're skimming, you're flattening it off, you're getting all what we call scabs out, any lines, and making it smooth so that you can paint it and there's going to be no things. So I might keep looking up at this ceiling because I skimmed it and it's awesome because I'm a good plasterer. But although there's a popper somewhere, I think I've seen a popper somewhere. Ah, there. I've probably missed when I screwed it. If you get a popper, what happens with a popper is, say you've screwed through your plasterboard, because you're supposed to screw into your joists. So that's your joist. You screw into your joist. If you miss your joist, then that screw, because it comes out at plasterboard there, it gently vibrates over ears, and it just vibrates for some reason, and that makes plaster that's round it pop off. And it can happen if you go into joist and it comes and screw comes out. So if you've not just really cut that joist properly, it might be holding it, but again, top of screw vibrates and then plaster comes off in like a circular motion. And if you want to fix that, what you do is you can either take that bit of plaster off and then try and unscrew screw, take that out and then just fill it in, or you can put another screw outside of it that'll hold it, or you can push it through. So get like a screwdriver and just force the screw through. So so you keep going over it, and it's setting and pulling in. That's a plastering term, pulling in, and it'll just keep hardening, and then round about 2.5-3 hour mark, you've got a nice smooth top, and you can add some water. What I tend to do is we have a water bucket. I'll put my brush in, and then I kind of just wipe my trowel, and then thing it. If you want, some plasterers use, well, I've seen some plasterers use a brush, and I've seen some plasterers use like a mist spray thing, and they go and then spray it on. I've never used that, but I like a brush. I like to use a brush because I'm setting my ways. In fact, I ought to do property that I've got that I'm just renovating at the minute. I'll rip it kitchen out, and there's one of them mist things, and it's a beauty. So I might just have a go with that. But the reason why I like to have brush in my hand is because I like to clean my trowel regular. Because if you're using your trowel and back gets, this is a technical term, this, if back of your trowel gets shitted up, it's a technical term, that means all finish on it, then there's a chance that when you're looking up and you're doing your ceiling, it's going to get it in your eye. So always clean back of your trowel. Good spreads, clean back of the trowels, and keep the work area as clean as possible. I've seen plasters that they're just filthy, wallow in it. The tools are shitted up and everything, and not for me. So that's how you skim a ceiling, and then obviously you paint it after that. And I always work from top down. So I always taught to do your ceiling first, and then you do your walls. So always have a system. Always have a system. So what we got next? How do you plaster stairwells? That's your next question. How do you plaster stairwells? I'll tell you, worst things that I hated when I was plastering, when I was just solely plastering and not earning money as a damp proofer and everything else I do. I hated stairwells, plastering over Artex, and I hated kitchens and bathrooms. And they were for different reasons. So stairwells were because they were just so awkward. They were awkward to sheet up. It's not as bad now because you've got carpet protectors and what you can put on stairs and stuff like that. Probably had them back in the 80s, but they'll have been a fortune, and not all builders merchants sold them because there weren't a massive demand. I used to get sheets, dust sheets that were specifically made for for stairs, like a beige colour, and you'd put them on. You'd put them on your stairs and fit them in and that. And then you'd walk up and down a few times, and they'd snag and they'd pull away, and it's stressing me up thinking about it. It's just a nightmare, a nightmare. And then kitchens, because these were like twill, these sheets that we had with the cotton twill. We used to cover units, like wall units, and then we're having to put lump hammers on top, so they drape down and cover units and stuff, because you're going to be skimming ceiling or scraping down Artex. I'm getting stressed up just thinking about it. I'm just glad I don't do it now. I'm glad I don't do it, because back then I'd not worked out my terms and conditions and things, and I'd go in and I'd just do everything, and then you'd have to clean everything up at end. Whereas now, as terms and conditions say, we're going to be knocking plaster off. If there's out that you think that might get damaged, get it out of the way. Get your carpets up. You do this. We're damp proofers. We've come to do damp proofing. We ain't come to clean house. So or move furniture. We're not insured to do it. So it's just one of them things. You order that bit. But when you're young, you do everything, and you feel like you've got to do everything. So you're sheeting everything up. I had a Hyundai Pony, smallest pickup you've ever seen in your life, no cover on back, and bag of dust sheets that I had used to take all the room up in back. But massive bag of dust sheets, massive set of crates, because we used to stand on crates that we'd not got what they call hop ups. We'd not got them. I call them trestles. I hate that word. Hop up. I worked with a guy in London. He were labouring on me, and we were working on a site, and he used to pick him up on the morning, and he used to, all right, Sam. He used to talk like, all right, Sam, have you got the app? And I was like, it was like people just going like that with the fingernails down a blackboard. Can we say blackboard now? Is it chalkboard? It's chalkboard. Can't say blackboard, can we? Chalkboard. All right, Sam, you got the app. And the other thing he used to say is he used to call my handboard, he used to call it a hook. Get the hook and the app. And I was like, I could have got him and just strangled him. And I was stressed up at time, because plastering is quite stressful. And I've note against your Cockney people, but it's an handboard and it's a trestle. End of. If you think it's all different, put it in comments and tell us. Put it in comments and tell us. What words don't you like? Oh, I can remember a question off of YouTube. I wish I could remember it word for word, but basically, it was somebody saying, "Can people in America understand the Yorkshire and Lancashire accent? Do we need subtitles?" There's a quick answer to this. I don't care. I don't care whether anybody can understand me or not. And they might try and put some subtitles on, but they'll probably be wrong. So, they'll be getting it wrong. I once went on holiday to Corfu, and I was about 18, 19, and I was sat on beach with there was this lass sat there, and she was a stunner. She was like a model. And I went up talking to her, and she was from Canada. She was a Canadian. And I got talking to her for a while. And all she kept saying was she loved my accent. So that might answer your question. Americans and Canadians love a Yorkshire accent. Yorkshire accent has been voted as the most trusting advert. Did I say advert? Most trusting accent This is why I'm saying advert. It's the most trusting accent for people to do adverts, because there's more chance of them buying off us, because we come across as being trusting. And there's a reason for that. Because we are trusting. We're trustworthy people. Up Yorkshire, everybody has, some wrong uns, but Yorkshire people are trusting. You come up here and people will talk to you. You're on public transport, you're in town. We'll say morning, we'll say evening, we'll say, are you all right? All right, pal. It's a sociable, friendly place. And further north you go, more friendly they are. You go to Newcastle, really friendly people. My mum's from Newcastle. She's from Ashington. And I think they lived on a place called the Jubilee Estate. And I think I've said before, my relations is Jackie and Bobby Charlton and go on. Memory's gone. But Bobby and Jackie Charlton and he's gone. And he was top goal scorer. He was top goal scorer before Shearer, I think. Not Malcolm McDonald. It was Jackie. Jackie. Right. I'll come back to that, because I should know. I should know what. Do you know? It's gonna kill me now. My mum's she's gonna disown me for forgetting his second name. But I'll remember it anyway. So anyway, we're really trustworthy people, and it's an alright accent. It's an alright accent, and I've got to keep talking kind of broad Yorkshire, because we've got to keep that going. We don't want to get it watered down. I don't think mine's that bad. You hear some people up here, and they do talk broad. Yeah. So what we got next? I ain't answered it ever. How do you plaster a stairwell? So basically, if it's a normal stairwell, so you go into a house, you've got like a bit of a threshold, and then you've got your stair that goes up, and then let's say there's just one landing on it. So a lot of time, you'd cover everything up, and this is how we'd do it. So you get like an extendable ladder, and you put it so that if you go upstairs that way, you put extendable ladder back across itself and leaning against bulkhead, and then you put a batting onto a trestle at top of stairs or some crates, and you kind of, best thing to do is get a batting that kind of just fits and put it in, but then screw two lats to it and put them lats against each wall so that it's not going to move like that. Because some of these stairwells are a drop. And I'll tell you a story about, I think I've probably told it before. When I was first starting with Neil, worked for Cudworth Builders, we did a stairwell, and I'd been plastering a bit, but he couldn't. I think he'd hurt his ribs. He'd done something to his ribs, and he couldn't skim this ceiling in far corner. We'd not got a batting or anything like that. But what I had to do, I had to stand on trestle, and he tied a rope round my belt, and kind of held onto the rope while I leant out, stood on top of banister to skim this like little bit. He skimmed out rest, and I sort of filled this last bit in. Out we're going a bit, and I don't think it's in health and safety. It's like that, and he's just like he's going backwards and forwards like that. So I didn't drop down stairwell. I don't think you'd get away with that today, but yeah, this some of them's a rate drop, so you've got to be really careful. And then other bit, you'd either get off at trestle, or you could fit like some battings up or whatever. But I'd just do it off a trestle. So that's just a basic stairwell, and then you do ceiling first, and then you do walls. You scrape down your artex and all that kind of thing. But I don't know whether you can now, because there's a. I think if Artex has been done after 2004 or something daft like that, you can. But always get it tested. I were at a survey the other day, and when I went into property, the woman, no, it weren't what it was, guy that were buying it, he'd got a guy in and he were taking samples and all Artex, find out whether it got asbestos in it. But amount of Artex I've scraped down, probably end up with something like that. So that's how you skim a stairwell. How do you plaster the ceiling in a room with furniture? Right, so this is going out to all your plasterers out there. What you need to do is kind of grow a pair of bollocks if you're doing private work, and then set at people, I'm not doing the job unless room's cleared. And that's the easiest thing to do. I'm not doing it unless room's cleared. Don't try and enter into raised at bottom, undercutting everybody so they get it for now. If they want you to do that job, if you've got a good name and they want you to do that skimming, you tell them alt furniture art, or we're not responsible for if there's any damage. If there's any damage, it's not our fault if you're leaving your furniture in. But what you do is, alternative is this. So you set it customer, get as much stuff as you can out, so then put it upstairs, in other rooms, all little stuff. And if there's certain things they can't get out, like it's usually a settee, so the settee and a chair. So it might be settee and two chairs. So what you do is you put your settee into the middle of the room, and then you get your chairs and you turn them upside down and put them on settee, so there's just one long thing there. And then you put a cover over it, and then you work round it. So you pull in from edge, pull in from edge, all the way around. And you can normally, off a trestle, you can normally lean and stretch over it, or you can do it other way. You can put your trestle in front and go forwards, just to skim that middle bit. So go all the way around. If there's a little bit in the middle, then you can just get that with things. So the easiest way to do a room with furniture, make sure all little stuff's out, and then big stuff, position it so you can get around it. I've done loads and it's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. So plasterers will be familiar with doing a 24-hour shift. I call it a 24-hour shift anyway. So your 24-hour shift is this. You go to work, you've got loads of skimming to do, and it's that stresses you up anyway. And then at night you go to sleep, and then you dream about plastering. so you've already done one shift, skimming, you've got home shattered, and you're that tired, you go to sleep, but because you're dreaming about plastering, you're waking up all the time, and you wake up tired than when you went to bed. And that's your 24-hour shift. There you go. What we got next? What are the best tools for plastering? Well, it'd help if you had an handboard and trowel. And it all depends. Every plasterer's got different preferences. Like I said, I like a big handboard. Some plasterers like little postage stamp things like that, and little trowels, and just put little bits on. But they'll always say, "Oh, I put more than you on, because with my little trowel and my little handboard, I can put loads more than you on." You can't. So that's it. I'll just shoot you down there. You can't. I can put a lot more on, right? Put it in comments. So, plasterers are a rare breed. They're a rare breed, plasterers. All plasterers think that best plasterer in the world. All plasterers look at other plasterers as if they're better than them. And this is where I've fun. Unless it's just me and Sid, my mate. Unless we're oddballs. But yeah, I found that it's like you don't get it with any other trade, but you tend to get it with plasterers. All plasterers just, and they're ruthless as well, absolutely ruthless. Like you get more trolls of plasterers than any other thing. I think it's because they're that bored waiting for stuff going off. They're sat there on the phones, and I'll just look on YouTube and troll somebody, or Facebook. Let's troll somebody on Facebook. Yeah, so they all have the different styles. So I've got a mate who I like. Like I said before, a hard trowel, which is a Marshall town to put on with, and then I've got Milburn, Jackie Milburn. That's who it is. Just come to me now. So yeah, Jackie Milburn. That's me. That was my granddad's cousin. So whatever, and that's Sissy Charlton's cousin as well. Or Jackie and Bobby's mum, who's my granddad's cousin. So that's family connection up in Newcastle. So I have a hard Marshall tan, and then I have a. I remember because I'm thinking, well, I've just forgot a word, and I'm forgetting this word and all. It's a great podcast, this, isn't it? Forgetting all words. It's a company that does mixers, and I can't think of the name. Right, so just hold on to that one. So that's me flattening off trowel, which is like a semi hard metal, and then I've got a Nella, which is an even softer metal. What I use, so I use these as ceilings going off, and then I'll use this Nella, and then I'll use a plastic one just to finish it off, get a bit of polish on it with plastic one. I'll do this again. I'll just come in with name at company that makes the German, I think, that make these other trowels. But when I first started, I started off with a Tyzac, a double hang Tyzac. So they had them at college. So there were Tyzacs and a Spear and Jackson, and they were kind of popular ones at the time. And you never had any pre-brocken in ones. You had to break them in yourself. So you had to use them on sand and cement or browning for years and years and years, and then they get sharper and sharper and sharper. And then you just have to pray that you didn't break it and have to get another. But now you can just go and get a pre-brocken in one. So all different levels. So it's same with other stuff. Every plasterer's got their own preferences. Like some like spot boards. Some like to get out of bucket. Some like to clean the buckets. Some don't like to clean the buckets. Some are filthy. Some are clean. Everyone's different. They're all different. What we got next? I think we've done how much does a plasterer earn. We did that. We did which are the hardest trades. We did that. Highest paying trade jobs. Did that. I did it on another podcast actually. I don't know if it's come out yet. Best trade qualifications in the UK. Right, I'm going to have a bit of a rant now because I started off with the CITB, and that's not to do with children's television or ITV or all like that. It is the Construction Industry Training Board, and we were the second setter apprentices at Barnsley College on the CITB scheme. Pre year below us, it was YTS. That was like a different government scheme, but it was YTS. And CITB started out as a brilliant organisation, and it was fit for purpose. And I sort of went through, did my City and Guilds. I think it's changed to a NVQ now, but City and Guilds were a really good qualification to have, recognised by all companies. If you had a City and Guilds in plastering, I did me City and Guilds Craft, which were a 2-year one, and then I did my City and Guilds Advanced Craft, which involved fibrous plastering and things like that, and older ways of plastering. So doing screeds and stuff. It's all been updated now, but stuff that you just thought you wouldn't never use, but we did. And nowadays, they're a disgrace. You're a disgrace, CITB. You're a disgrace. Terrible, absolutely terrible. They hang on to the money. They don't give it to employers. You've got to beg, steal, and borrow to get these grants. They don't do specialist grants. The PCA set up a training scheme, probably one of the best in countries for damp proofers, really specialist. Any apprentices that went through it will end up amongst the elite damp proofers, timber treatment people in England. They'll be amongst the elite. The training is second to none. They've got their own premises. They do everything. CITB started out helping them and gave them some funding. And I think it was you got 700 and something pounds. So if you sent your apprentice there, they started off at £780, which I think you still had to put some money in, but it worked out not bad. And then CITV just cut it every year, cut funding every year. So now PCA, Property Care Association, they're kind of putting their money in to try and keep this course going for apprentices, which is wrong. Government gives CITB this money, and they're supposed to pass it on for people to be trained, and they're not doing it. I know Steve Hodgson had a rant about it on LinkedIn, and he put a massive post about just how they're not fit for purpose, they're holding money, they're making it difficult for people to get grants, and it's true. My story with CITB during lockdown, it was a nightmare. I got allocated a specific woman as a point of contact, and I had a phone number, and it got to time of year where we'd got to apply for as grants, and I'd heard nothing from him. And bear in mind, I've been with him for 14 years. We'd had apprentices with him for 14 years, and I'd heard nothing, no emails, nothing. We just kept getting a thing through letterbox, through post. We signed it, sent it back. You got your grant. Well, they changed it. Said they put everything online, which I didn't know because I'd not had any emails. I had this woman as a point of contact, and during lockdown, she put a message on her answer phone saying, due to this lockdown, reduced services, you can email me at so and so. Still couldn't get in contact with her for months. So I still can't. And she had this thing on her phone, and I found out she'd gone on maternity leave, but she'd still left this message on her phone that said, due to lockdown, due to COVID, we're on restricted, and that's all you got from her. And she'd not took it off, just totally irresponsible. So I eventually, through PCA, I got another point of contact who were quite helpful. But I'm not looking forward to trying to fight for these grants again, because I know I'm going to have to. They've just made everything so difficult. So that's my rant about CITB. They should change funding. Government needs to get rid of them and change funding. But City and Guilds, brilliant. Higher National, BTEC, HNC, BTEC diploma. That's another qualification that I got in building management. That were at Barnsley College. They were great. I said PCA's got courses, and you can do their surveying. You can do their surveying exams, which I did in structural waterproofing and in remedial treatments. It's got a different initials now, but recognised all throughout England. Recognised through the with the banks. So the banks now know that if anybody's buying and selling a property, they've got to have a report done by a PCA specialist damp surveyor who's relevantly qualified. And more and more banks are sort of specifying that you've got to have this report done by somebody who's qualified with PCA. And RICS surveyors are now, they're recommending in their reports that it's got to be a PCA qualified surveyor if they found any damp with the meters, because 9 out of 10 surveyors that are doing structural work or whatever, they don't know how to interpret readings like we do. We've been trained to recognise all signs of damp, and a lot of us are quite experienced as well. We all sign up to continual professional, continued professional development, CPD. A lot of companies do it, but I'm signed up to it, so I have to keep going on courses, do reading, and keep on top of all latest things. So it's not just going and doing course and passing your exams. You've got to carry on keeping on top of things, keeping on top. So continued professional development. So I think I'm going to do one more, and then I'm going to start wrapping up, because I'm not doing a long one today. So what are the hardest trade jobs? Best trade qualifications in the UK. How to get new jobs as a tradesman in the UK. Right then. So when I first started, what you had to do is you had to advertise in Independent, which is a local newspaper, and they charged you per word, and it was very expensive to for how much you were getting for your jobs. It was very expensive. I thought it was, but as I've found now, you've got to speculate to accumulate. You've got to invest. But when you're a kid, you ain't got that money. So the next thing were yellow pages as well. And some people took out massive adverts, which cost a fortune, and probably got loads more working. But I could only afford like a small box. So back then, when I were plastering, all I had were this advert in Independent and this advert in yellow pages that people might see and ring. But if you weren't on first page, very rare that people would ring you. So it was probably a waste of money. But nowadays, the best way to... there's word of mouth as well. So word of mouth, famous. If nobody knows what you do, if you've not told anybody what you do, it's falling on deaf ears. So you've got to promote yourself. So if you're a plasterer, joiner, plumber, electrician, you've got to see yourself as having your own brand, and you've got to promote yourself. Tell everybody that you know what you do. Tell them that you're a plumber. Tell them what jobs you're working on. Best thing to do, get your Facebook page. When you do a job, take a photo, put it on. Tell them what you've done that day. Do like a bit of a vlog. If you're comfortable videoing yourself, video yourself on job, just saying what you've done that day. Put it on. There's always people watching. Always people watching. And more you do it, more it goes into people's brains on Facebook. And when a friend wants a job, they're going to think of you because they've seen you work all the time. That's one way. That's Facebook. So it's major social media. So get on all social media and put your jobs on. Even Snapchat, you know what I mean? Work out how to do Snapchat. Just put your photos on. Instagram, stick them on Instagram. Twitter, put them on Twitter. I'm just trying to think of some others. So basically, tell people what you do. What I did, I saw a bit of a gap, and I started doing videos for YouTube. Totally out of my comfort zone. So I got told to do 5 videos. I went on a. It was a. I'm just trying to think what the word would be for it. Networking. It were classed as networking, and I thought it looked like a good opportunity, and it was to do with trades. So the guy set it up, basically to do with trades, but the problem that he had, I think he wanted more. He wanted to elevate his position more, and he wanted businesses. So he changed his the title and kind of were pushing trades art and changed it to a business networking rather than trades. But what's happened is now I've kind of seen he's kind of gone back to trades. Whether he's done two separate businesses or two separate networking things, I think he's doing a lot online. So I think now he's aimed at both businesses and trades. And it kind of set me off on this path with social media. So he's told us that we had to do 5 videos, and I did these 5 videos, and I saw some traction. Anyway, I kind of saw a thing in market, a gap in market, and I just started knocking them out, and that is my advertising. People can see me doing jobs. They can see I'm passionate about it. My head's above the parapet. I'm not hiding. I'm not doing a job and hiding. If I've done a bad job, people can go onto YouTube and complain and shout about it. But if you put in a comment on, I will answer. You know what I mean? I do answer, and I'll tell you my side of the story. You know, so and I'm learning all the time. Still learning. I don't know everything. So there will be a reason why. If there's any issues, there'll be a good reason for it, and I don't think I've done any. I don't think I've done any bad jobs. So if you're watching this and I've done a bad job for you, well, put it in comments. Yeah, we're not hiding. So this is it. This is you've got your head above parapet, but people can see what you do. So that is another way. Just put videos on. You've got your socials. That I mean, you can pay for advertising. You can pay for Facebook advertising, which you can get a better reach. And I have done that. I've paid for Facebook advertising. But at minute, I kind of just need, all I need is one job a week. I've got multiple streams of income. So I've got other things what bring me money in. And that's what my advice to anybody would be. If you are in a trade, try and get multiple streams of income. Get, if you can buy an house and rent it out, get money coming in from that. If you want to dabble in crypto, I'm not a financial advisor, so read up on it, and you might make some money on that, earn interest. If you like watches, you can enter watch market if you do your research and find out which ones are going to go up in value, or which you think are going to go up in value. You can buy and sell things. You can get things from charity shops for nothing, for next to nothing. Clean them up, photograph them, put them on a website, make a few quid on them. You can do that with everything. So different streams of income. That's what I'll say. Make sure you've got some money coming in from all over. So you get money off of YouTube videos if they're good enough. So we get a few quid. Not saying they're brilliant, but we get a few quid. So that's what I'd say. Different streams of income. So yeah, word of mouth as well. Just make sure you tell everybody what you do and show everybody what you do and show people what your products are. More people that know about it, more people you can reach, and there's more chance of you getting work. So I think I'm going to wrap it up now. I hope you've enjoyed this edition. Something different. Gaff's not here. I hope he's had a brilliant day, and I hope you're going to have a brilliant week. So this is Dampsam signing off for another week. See you on the next show. Bye bye.